Welcome to my channel, True Cases. On the morning of March 9th, 1998, in Hsinchu City, Taiwan, at National Tsinghua University's Institute of Nuclear Science. Inside the lecture hall on the second floor, the body of a young woman lay silently on the floor. Her clothes were in disarray, her face unrecognizable. The victim was Chiachen Hsu. On the floor, a pool of blackened liquid gave off a pungent, acidic stench. The marks of corrosive acid stretched across the ground and onto the victim's body. Her entire form was burned beyond recognition. Next to her body lay a discarded condom. This was no ordinary death. This was a brutal, meticulously planned murder. In the summer of 1995, in Taiwan, Chiachen Hsu was preparing with all her strength for the grueling university entrance exams. It was at a cram school that she met Xiaohui Hong, the young woman who would soon become her closest and dearest friend. Sharing the same dream, they fought side by side, forging a bond that grew stronger with each passing day. Eventually, the two were admitted to the same prestigious university, enrolled in the same department, and even lived in the same dorm room. In class, they were inseparable, always walking side by side. In those bright, youthful days, they shared laughter, shouldered pressure together, and pursued their dreams as one. Xiaohui Hong came from in Kaohsiung, a humble middle-class background. Though he was not a remote countryside, its resources could not compare to those of Taipei. Her father was a sailor, her mother worked for an airline, and she had two younger sisters at home. Without a powerful family name, Xiaohui Hong had only her own efforts to rely upon to climb higher. In stark contrast stood Chiachen Hsu. She grew up in Taipei, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Taiwan. Her father was an executive at Taiwan Power Company, and her family lived in comfort and privilege. Yet Chiachen Hsu was deeply dedicated to her studies, and her family's advantages only motivated her to work harder, never making her arrogant. And then there was Tsing, a man born into an elite lineage, shielded by a powerful family name. His life seemed preordained. Wealth, connections, and opportunities were never in short supply. Women, influence, privilege. They were simply part of his world. These three lives, set on a collision course, would one day converge, and that convergence would ignite a tragedy that no one could stop. In the summer of 1996, three lives crossed paths: Xiaohui Hong, Chiachen Hsu, and Tsing. They were all admitted to the Radiation Biology Institute at National Tsinghua University that year. Hong and Hsu entered the master's program, while Tsing was directly admitted into the doctoral program. For Chiachen Hsu and Xiaohui Hong, this was more than a new academic chapter. It was the continuation of a cherished friendship. The bond they had built the year before in cram school made them inseparable on campus, almost like sisters. But fate had already begun to turn its invisible gears. Not long after classes began, Xiaohui Hong fell in love with Tsing. Among the three, she had the fewest resources, but the strongest academic background. Though Xiaohui Hong's family was of modest means, her admission into a top-tier university in Taipei was proof not just of her intelligence, but of her relentless determination to compete. Tsing was an outstanding student, skipping grades to advance directly into the PhD program within a year. Media later described him as handsome and exceptionally talented. At the time, Tsing already had a public girlfriend, also a graduate student at the institute. Surrounded by familiar peers, Xiaohui Hong kept her feelings restrained, at least on the surface. What she never expected was that Chiachen Hsu, too, had fallen for Tsing. Chiachen Hsu openly displayed her affection for the senior, her face glowing with joy, never noticing that Hong's smile was growing increasingly strained. Caught between friendship and desire, Hong struggled in silence. But Tsing's kindness, his constant attention to both women, made him impossible to resist. Xiaohui Hong believed firmly that any goal could be achieved through effort and persistence, and so, after much inner turmoil, she made her decision. Secretly, she began a relationship with Tsing, claiming him for herself before Chiachen Hsu had the chance, and their intimacy soon deepened. Outwardly, Huan Taizong maintained that he saw both women only as friends, as younger sisters. But in truth, he had already been physically involved with both of them. As emotions grew entangled, the balance between them shattered. The lines between friendship and love blurred, and what was once a bond of sisterhood began to unravel. A storm was coming, and none of them could escape its path. In the summer of 1997, they joined forces once again, this time turning their target on Zhang's official girlfriend. One night, the girlfriend's research data was mysteriously destroyed. With no direct evidence, the case was eventually dismissed. Zhang knew exactly what had happened, but he did nothing to stop it. In his silence, the line between love and hate blurred. A storm was brewing. One seemingly ordinary night, Zhang invited a female teaching assistant out for a late-night snack. To them, this could never happen again. Thus began a carefully planned intervention. Sue carefully lured the teaching assistant into the women's restroom.
Never speak to him again.
Then they delivered a chilling threat. She was never to speak to Zhang again. The tension escalated further. Hong crossed the line, turning words into violence. The following day, the assistant reported the incident to the dean, seeking justice. Parents were summoned to campus for a formal meeting. But both women denied everything. Hong's composure and gentle tone cast doubt on the dean's judgment. The school assured the teaching assistant they would support her if she chose legal action, but she never pursued the case. Outwardly, Sue and Hong still appeared united, but underneath, the rivalry had only deepened. Hong began to find ways to close her financial gap. She purchased an expensive mobile phone on credit, one for herself and one as a gift for Zhang. In 1997, mobile phones were a luxury item, a bold and unmistakable display of affection. The two women competed fiercely for Zhang's love and attention. It became a contest of gifts, each trying to outdo the other. Among them, Hong was perhaps the most relentless. The same drive that pushed her to excel academically now fueled her fight for love. But Sue could already sense danger closing in. She left a chilling message on the campus BBS. "My conflicts with Hong are getting worse. If anything happens to me, it must be her doing." Friendship had been poisoned by jealousy and fear, and the emotional rift was now opening into a dark, irreparable chasm. In the weeks leading up to Lunar New Year of 1997, a single discovery changed everything. Chiachen Hsu accidentally learned that Xiaohui Hong had already crossed the invisible line of friendship with their senior, Huan Taizong. Anger flooded her heart like a rising tide. The friendship that had once seemed unshakable was fractured beyond repair. Hsu abandoned her usual reserve and began showering Tsing with expensive gifts, a bold declaration of her intent to win him back. Influenced by a distorted view of love and traditional patriarchal thinking, Hsu believed she had the rightful claim. She had fallen for Tsing first, and Hong should step aside. In matters of love, order determines everything, she thought. In this order, Hong comes second. But Xiaohui Hong saw the world differently. My happiness is mine to fight for. Neither was married. For Hong, love was a competition, and competitions were meant to be won. Thus, the battle for affection began. Both women lavished Huan Taizong with costly gifts, and he never refused, rarely returning the favor, pulling them deeper into an emotional quagmire. 2 days earlier, Saturday, March 7th, 1998. That day, Chiachen Hsu never made her usual trip home to Taipei, just an hour away from home. A small break from routine, but one that marked the beginning of a tragedy. Unable to reach their daughter, who usually stayed in the dorms, Sue's parents were overcome with anxiety. They called her classmates, asking for help, but no one had seen her. She didn't attend the institute's weekend barbecue either, something completely out of character. Sue was a second-year graduate student at the Institute of Radiological Sciences. She was only 3 months away from graduation. Her future, until now, was full of promise. After 2 days of silence, the police stepped in. A chilling suspicion emerged. The missing Sue, Chiachen Hsu, might be the same woman whose body had just been found on campus. A condom was discovered next to the body. Investigators believed the victim was likely sexually assaulted before being doused with acid in a deliberate attempt to destroy evidence. The chemical used required professional knowledge and access to specialized materials, leading police to focus their investigation on insiders, people from within the campus. The body was unrecognizable. When the father arrived, he could not bring himself to say this was his daughter. The prosecutor noticed a pager still clipped to the victim's waistband and asked the father to dial her number. The sharp, beeping sound echoed through the morgue. The pager lit up. In that moment, all hope died. The girl who was supposed to graduate in just 3 months now lay lifeless on the table. Sue's parents broke down, weeping uncontrollably, their grief filling the room. But the scene told a much darker story. This was not an accident. It was a meticulously planned crime. Police began their investigation, starting with the victim's closest relationships. 2 names quickly surfaced: Huan Taizong, her senior and close companion, and Xiaohui Hong, her classmate, roommate, confidant, and rival in love. Both were taken in for lengthy interrogation. Tsing was cleared of suspicion and released, but Hong was detained. Investigators uncovered evidence of financial and emotional conflicts between the 2 women, naming Hong as the primary suspect. Yet after 30 hours of questioning, Hong remained calm and unyielding, denying everything. The truth was still buried, hidden beneath a wall of silence. During the investigation, Taiwan's Criminal Investigation Bureau brought in the world-renowned detective Henry C. Lee to take over the case. On the victim's sweater, forensic investigators discovered a small broken fingernail, but no DNA could be extracted. He took an alternative approach. The transparent patterns on the fingernail resembled fingerprints, each unique. After careful comparison, she confirmed the owner of the fingernail, Xiaohui Hong. Investigators eventually found a black jacket and a pair of sneakers in Xiaohui Hong's dorm room, stained with blood matching Chiachen Hsu's DNA. During questioning, Hong's mother was present. Under her mother's urging, Hong broke down in tears and confessed. She even kept a used condom from her relationship with Sung Huan Tai, cleaned it, and preserved it as a memento, both a trace of love and a reminder of past hope. The scene was thick with the acrid smell of chemicals. The upper body of the victim had been corroded, charred, and decayed, resembling a half-dissolved plastic model. Forensic examination revealed that Hsu died from head trauma followed by suffocation after being doused with chloroform. Additionally, the body had been splashed with a chemical known as aqua regia, a mixture of nitric and hydrochloric acid in a 3-to-1 ratio. Colorless yet highly unstable, it emits yellow fumes in air and must be prepared on site. Aqua regia is extremely corrosive, capable of dissolving even gold and platinum. The victim's head, chest, arms, and abdomen bore obvious signs of acid corrosion and localized leatherization. From the abdomen to the knees, the body and clothing showed gray-black and yellow-green corrosion. Remarkably, teeth, esophagus, and stomach remained intact, as did portions of the trachea and bronchi, indicating the acid was applied post-mortem. Every detail exposed the sheer cruelty of the tragedy and reflected the darkest edges of human obsession. The day before the murder, March 6, 1998, at 10 a.m., Xiao Hui-hong borrowed Chiachen Hsu's credit card. By mid-afternoon, she had used it at a downtown department store, purchasing perfume and cosmetics. 3 separate transactions totaling 37,086 new Taiwan dollars. Around 6 p.m., she returned to her dormitory on the first floor at National Tsing University and handed the card back to Chiachen Hsu. Later that evening, around 9 p.m., Xiao Hui-hong, Chiachen Hsu, and another classmate, Wu, joined Huan Tai-zung in his private car and drove into town to shop. By 10 p.m., they stopped at a sporting goods store. Hsu picked out a pair of sneakers, only to be told her credit card had already maxed out, surpassing 80,000 new Taiwan dollars in spending. That moment became the spark. Hsu called the bank to verify the charges, then confronted Hong directly.
Why did you use my credit card without my permission?
The atmosphere grew tense. The argument escalated quickly. Eventually, it was Huan Tai-zung who stepped in, using his own credit card to pay for the sneakers, ending the conflict, at least on the surface. But for Hong, the damage was done. She felt humiliated, believing that Hsu had deliberately exposed her in front of Zung, a wound to both her pride and her heart. Hours later, the two women met again, this time in the lecture hall to clear the air. But according to Hong's later confession, what happened next was, in her words, an accident, not a premeditated murder. In the early hours of March 7, 1998, at 3:51 a.m., Xiao Hui-hong picked up her recently purchased mobile phone and called Chiachen Hsu's pager. Hsu answered immediately, and they agreed to meet on the second floor of the lecture hall to settle their dispute face-to-face. Around 4 a.m., they entered the lecture hall together, the air heavy with tension and suppressed anger. Hong confronted Hsu bluntly. "You promised to let me use your credit card, so why did you accuse me of stealing in front of Huan Tai-zung, leaving me speechless and humiliated?" Hsu did not answer the question directly. Instead, she accused Hong of staying overnight with Huan Tai-zung at the research dormitory, and demanded that Hong end her relationship with him. Hong refused, insisting she would not leave Zung. Hsu, consumed by rage, shouted, "You're so cheap. Do you even know that? You're like a public restroom. You say Zung is like a brother, that it's just sibling affection. But do you get pleasure from incest?" The words ignited Hong's fury. She struck Hsu across the face with a fierce slap, sending her stumbling down the steps in front of the podium. Even on the ground, Hsu kept shouting, "You're cheap!"
You're cheap!
Her words cutting deep. The confrontation escalated into a violent struggle. Hong attacked first. Hsu fought back. On the floor, they grappled fiercely. The seeds of tragedy were sown in this moment. Hong gained the upper hand, straddling Hsu and gripping her neck with both hands. After a brutal struggle, Hsu was flipped near the podium, face down. Hong grabbed Hsu's hair and smashed her head into the hard stone floor. Soon, Hsu lay motionless, battered and bleeding profusely. As dawn broke, Hong retrieved a bottle of chloroform from Lab B205 in the same building, pouring it over Hsu's face and the back of her head to ensure she would not regain consciousness. She then lifted Hsu's legs and dragged her down the second corridor of the lecture hall, head first, leaving a trail of blood and multiple injuries as her head struck the steps. Hong returned to the lab, soaked gauze in the remaining chloroform, wiped away the bloodstains, and poured methanol into the empty bottle, returning it to its place. Lying in the lecture hall, Hsu fell into a deep coma from strangulation and head trauma. The inhalation of chloroform pushed her into an even deeper unconscious state. Hong went on to attend the Saturday morning lab discussion and the afternoon barbecue on campus. Chiachen Hsu, however, succumbed to asphyxiation between 7 and 8 a.m. that morning. At 9:15 p.m., Xiaohui Hong used a keycard belonging to her classmate to enter the lecture hall, only to find Chiachen Hsu lifeless. For a moment, she was paralyzed with uncertainty, unsure how to handle the body. Throughout the night, Hong moved between the lecture hall and the lab using the keycard. To avoid detection, she did not turn on the lights, relying instead on a handheld flashlight. At 10:31 p.m., she returned to the lecture hall to carry out her plan. She attempted to fit the body into the air conditioning cabinet, but lacked the strength to do so. She then devised another method. From Lab B205, she retrieved bottles of hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, a graduated cylinder, and 4 pairs of laboratory gloves. Donning gloves, she poured the acids into the cylinder in proportion, preparing aqua regia. She poured the solution over Hsu's face, neck, and chest. However, the hydrochloric acid was depleted, preventing further preparation. Hong then pulled down Hsu's pants and poured the remaining nitric acid from the abdomen to the knees, further corroding the body. Afterward, she returned the bottles and cylinder to the lab, rinsed them with tap water, and replaced them. To mislead investigators, she went back to her dorm, retrieved a condom she had previously used with Taiwan, and placed it beneath Hsu's left arm, attempting to stage the scene as a sexual assault murder. She then cleaned the scene meticulously. Used gauze, 4 pairs of gloves, and all clothing were wrapped in newspaper, placed in a plastic bag, and discarded in the dormitory trash bin. In addition to placing the condom to mislead authorities, Hong created the illusion that Hsu was still alive. She cracked Hsu's social media accounts, impersonating her to communicate with Taiwan and other classmates, and sent emails to Taiwan from campus computers. In her confession, Hong stated that the conflict had begun over the credit card dispute. For her, it was a "why not me" mentality. She wanted to let go, but felt she had invested too much, especially with another rival challenging her. In her logic, matters had to be extreme, to surpass the other, to prove that her love was fierce and all-consuming. On August 7th, 1998, Xiaohui Hong knelt before the mother of her victim, Chiachen Hsu, in the Taiwan High Court, tearfully offering her apologies. Yet Hsu's parents believed her actions did not reflect genuine remorse. Throughout the trial, Hong repeatedly knelt and offered substantial civil compensation, hoping to make amends, but all attempts were refused. Hsu's parents did not push the court for the maximum penalty. Their sole wish was to uncover the truth. They had once insisted that Hong could not have killed Hsu and disposed of the body alone, suspecting the presence of an accomplice. On December 3, 1998, Xiaohui Hong was sentenced to 15 years in prison for murder, plus 3 years for corpse desecration, totaling 18 years, and ordered to pay NTD 24.17 million in compensation to the Hsu family. After the second instance verdict, Hong abandoned her appeal. In April 2000, she was transferred to Kaohsiung Women's Prison, where she was baptized as a Christian. The court declined to impose a life sentence for several reasons. First, Hong displayed profound remorse after the crime. Second, she had been provoked by Hsu's sharp words at the time, temporarily losing control. Third, the violent actions arose from an impulsive conflict rather than premeditation. 4. The court concluded she was not a ruthless, cold-blooded killer, and her actions were not deliberate murder. The trial left an indelible shadow of grief and sorrow over everyone involved, marking a tragic chapter in all their lives. Upon learning that Xiaohui Hong and Chiachen Hsu had clashed over his affection, leading to an irreversible tragedy, Huan Taizheng said in an interview, "It's related to personal character or mindset. Sometimes people overthink or get stuck in their own ways." And that led to what happened. Of course, I cannot avoid taking some personal moral responsibility. I feel very sad. Everyone had known each other as classmates for over a year. And now, such a tragedy has occurred. I must be more careful with my actions in the future. Zheng's father told the media that being labeled the scumbag of the case was deeply upsetting and incomprehensible. He hoped the public would let the past remain in the past and not repeatedly bring it up. At that time, Huan Taizheng endured immense pressure, afraid to leave his home, drowning in depression, disillusioned about life and his future. In the days after the case was resolved, the school received hundreds of calls from students, parents, and concerned citizens, sharply criticizing him. Eventually, he left National Tsinghua University. He later went abroad for further studies, earned his doctorate, and returned to work in Taiwan. He never married. He even attempted to meet Xiaohui Hong, but that meeting never happened. In this tragic event, Chiachen Hsu lost her life. Xiaohui Hong lost more than a decade of youth, under scrutiny and condemnation. And the only one who bore no legal responsibility was Huan Taizheng. But does the absence of legal punishment mean he was free of fault or responsibility? Although Xiaohui Hong was the killer, Huan Taizheng was, in truth, the root cause of this tragedy. In love, Huan Taizheng basked in the attention of many admirers. His mistake was a lack of responsibility, and his failure to maintain proper boundaries. And while we pity the two women who were trapped in the web of love, we cannot help but feel a sorrowful sense of tragedy. The boundary between love and madness. This tragic case shocked society across all levels. In the world of love, there are no fixed rules to follow. Perhaps in their hearts they believed their love was a legend. They magnified love to the point of irrationality. Any emotion, once amplified beyond control, becomes dangerous, a form of madness. Love is no exception. Perhaps they were not truly in love with the same man. What they clung to was the unyielding spirit within, the thought, why should I lose to her? What does she have that I don't? In the end, this feeling transcended what is commonly understood as love. No one was willing to let go. The material things they gave were merely a facade. What truly mattered was the inner force, the impulse, and the sense of self-satisfaction. This is a story of emotions, rivalry, and the extremes of human nature. A stark reminder that when love is magnified to the extreme, it can bring not only sweetness, but also devastation.